Sunday night is here again. Your most authoritative sports roundup show of the weekend. Scorecard. Benjamin Iketia here. It's been an interesting weekend. If you are a Manchester United fan, you are thinking resurgence. The good times are back. All that. If you're a Manchester City fan, you are not sure how to feel this weekend. Arsenal fans have cemented themselves as legit title contenders, or Arsenal themselves have cemented themselves as legit title contenders. There's the CHAN tournament happening, and it's not going too well for Ghana's Black Galaxies. There's also the Ghana Premier League, also still rolling along, so we'll touch on all of that and more on the show. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, I'll tell you who is in the studio, and then we'll start with the roundup. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. My good friends are here, looking fresh, looking good for the evening. Susu Graham, Coach Christopher Nimley. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Good.
When I see you smiling like this, I know you are up to some mischief.
Egba. Iyalode kowajo. Iyalode kowajo. Iyalode kowajo. Iyalode kowajo. Iyalode abaliwalode kowajo. No more. Carlos Casemiro is in town. I'm feeling very good. Oh, Charlie.
Before you start your song,
Are you title contenders
now? You
now?
should have your lyrics ready so I can join you.
No, this one you are not a Man United fan. You can't join this
But I have to give back. I have to give back vocals. I have to give back.
Have you heard this song before?
No, I've not heard it.
So you
I
can't
want to
sing.
learn the words.
No, forget it. I only translate and interpret the words to my people.
But wait, is this song to say that you have suddenly become title contenders?
No, we didn't. We have never said anywhere
No, I believe Man United title
that we are going to win the title.
I'm trying to find out from him.
We have never said anywhere.
Yeah?
When Ten Hag took over this job, we all knew what the target was.
Yeah.
Top 4. We want to get back into the Champions League. I will declare title contendership if we're to beat Arsenal come Sunday.
Because now you are 1 point behind Manchester City.
Yeah, we are 1 point behind. If we beat us, as for Arsenal, they have a back-to-back game to settle with Man City. They themselves, although they are leading the table, they know that game is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
So if they fail to beat United, if United were to beat Arsenal at the Emirates a week today, then it's a 3-horse race. Because we know that back-to-back.
Yeah.
But then we would have settled Arsenal back-to-back, Man City back-to-back. It is the Liverpool, the Chelsea,
goodness.
all those people are cool chop.
Let me throw this to United fans out there. Now, send in your thoughts. The text and WhatsApp lines will be on your screens there. Are United title contenders as things stand now? Because if they are 1 point behind Manchester City, and Manchester City are deemed title contenders, this is a legit question to ask. Are you title contenders now?
I
Now you see,
believe
we are 1 point behind Man City,
Yeah.
but 9 points behind Arsenal. We believe
Yeah.
that if we're to beat Arsenal a week today,
Yeah.
that makes it 6. Then Man City home and away, they can share it 3-3, or Man City can take all the 6. Then the game will be simple.
We'll be getting into the foreign tidbits in a
I'll
bit.
just say that based on the math,
Yeah.
if you look at the mathematics of the table, if we are calling Man City title contenders,
all I'm
we
saying.
have to add Man U. There's no two ways about
That
it.
is you. We have our own way of declaring.
We'll
our
get back to that in a bit. We'll check out the highlights. We'll see your performance, and then we'll evaluate how worthy you are of being title contenders. But the Ghana Premier League was on this weekend. It was game week 11. They didn't break, thankfully, for the CHAN. They still went ahead with their games. Bechem United were in action. If you look at what happened, a host of teams were also in action generally, but I think we have those highlights from Bechem United taking on Mediama. Now, if we do, we'll roll that for you in a bit there. But Bechem won that game by 1-0. Just snappy thoughts on that particular one. Mediama have changed coaches. They had David Duncan. Looks like it didn't work out. I was shocked that relationship didn't work out. I always thought that was an environment David could thrive in, but they have a new coach in town. A win, a draw, a defeat, it's still not stabilized.
Yeah, okay. Before I comment on Mediama, this is what I want to say. I've been very disappointed in Bechem. Because if you look at their form from last season, the season before, one would have thought that this season itself, they would have pushed on or moved a bit closer to the big boys. Rather, their performances have been very undulating. Anytime they decide to show up, they've always been a formidable side. Am I surprised they beat Midiama? Not at all. Because like you rightly said, this Midiama thing is not what it used to be.
No.
Look, the major problem with why coaches would struggle in Ghana, that is one of the reasons why I have decided I won't coach in this country. Top flight, I will never venture. Because when the team owner appoints a coach, he never allows the coach to come with his backroom staff. And that was Coach David Duncan's problem. He went in there, but he had to work
with people who had already been hired.
With the people who were already there, whose allegiance were not to him, but to the club owner. People who think that they should have been given the chance to coach the team and were not given the opportunity to do so. So you can clearly see the level of sabotage. And for me, even with Hatsavok, even with Kumasi Asante Kotoko, coaches are now, and look, one of the things I learned throughout my coaching courses in the US, in Canada, even here in Ghana, with the late Uncle Ben Kofi, the late Coach Samadi, they always pointed it out. And even Otia Kenten is still alive. They've always told us as coaches that don't ever allow the bankrollers or the owners of our club side to appoint your backroom staff for you. Because the moment you do that, these people are going to use them to get rid of you. And that, in the case of David Duncan, from the very day one, he's always been in a battle with his assistant who thought that instead of David, he should have been the one given the opportunity to coach the team. And then for me, that is one reason. Look, it is affecting the development of our game. Maybe you may not know that. But as a technical man, I speak to lots of coaches, and they've always highlighted that. And I say, then you guys, make it, for me, if you decide to come for me, I don't only appoint my...
I mean, it happens all the time. Clear case example. Accra Hearts of Oak hires Slavko Matic. He has to come and work with David Oklu, who's already been hired.
Kotoko brought in the Burkinabe. He's working with an assistant he didn't bring. How does it work out? The allegiance is not to the head coach. And I would have thought that as you go in there to coach any team, you should have the say as to those who sit by you and do the tactical thinking with you. You shouldn't be forced to work with somebody who do not believe in your identity, who do not believe in your way of doing it.
Coach, can I ask you a question?
Why not?
We see that in certain clubs, a club like Chelsea is a good example. When Abramovich was in charge, he didn't allow a head coach to bring more than maybe 3 or 4 coaches with him. There's a limit to the number of people you can bring with you. So what is it about? Is it like how much can you actually bring? Because I don't think for an owner, it makes sense that every time you have a new coach, you fire everybody. So like where is it? Is it
yourself, your direct 2 assistants, and then your physical trainer. As for the medics and the team can cater for them. And if possible, your goalkeeper's trainer. These are areas you should never compromise on. Look at Ten Hag. Look at Ten Hag. Man United wanted to give him his own assistant. He said, no. I prefer the man I'm working with at Ajax, and I prefer what's the name? McLaren. Because he's worked with McLaren before. And he's been given total control of the setup. So, yes, you can allow the team to appoint, but like I'm saying, those who sit by you to do the tactical thinking should be those you would have brought in. Because they are the players who definitely listen to.
They're the ones who basically take charge of the training sessions and whatnot. So that's the word there. Allow coaches to do their work. Let's get into the highlights of that game. Midiama versus Bechem. Bechem United winning that one right at the death.
Pain, but he will continue. 5 minutes of time added on. Ball headed down nicely. It looks good for Bechem United. They're coming close. The dummy on, and then the player goes down, and yes, the referee says it's a penalty. Build-up was good from the far side. Clinton did very well. Tried to go around his marker, brought him down in the box. Referee was there in the right place at the right time. Bechem United have a penalty. The fans are waiting for the uproar. It's Apia Kubi in goal for Mediama. It is the captain for Bechem United, Kofi Agbesime. In he goes. 1, 2, 3. The response is clear.
So Bechem United, they're winning that one via the spot kick. Let's get to the full results slate for the Ghana Premier League match week 11. Let's check out how the various teams did. You can see in your shots there. In Suatraman Day, played out a goalless draw with Legon City's Kotoku Royals. You can also see lost to Great Olympics by 2-0. So Olympics winning away from home. And then you have Kim Faisal also beating Tamale City by 1-0. So all of a sudden, Jimmy Kobler has stabilized the ship at Kim Faisal. Results are coming in. I remember they probably had not won a game since when he took over the job. It was a little rocky. He stabilized things now. Karela FC also beat Adriana Stars 1-0. So Adriana suffering a rare defeat there. Hearts of Folk 0-0 with Samatex. Coach, your good friend is in town. Slavko Matic is back in town. Dreams FC 3, RTU 1. And then there was Bibiani Gold Stars 1. Asante Kotoko. I don't know what's happened to that particular one. That game has not been played. So there's Bibiani Gold Stars Kotoko. And then there's Accra Lions also versus Brekum Chelsea. So that's what's going on as far as the Ghana Premier League is concerned. Coach, quick thoughts on Matic. He's back in town.
Thank God he's back. You remember last week I said it would take a miracle to get him to come back. Thank God he's back. It's clearly shown that in his absence, those people handling the team are just not capable of doing, because I think he left for 2-3 weeks. And in his absence, they've played how many games? 2-3 games. They've drawn both. And
I think maybe they won the first.
I think they won the first one. The one just before he left. And then they drew again yesterday. I'm not sure he handled this.
No, I think it's been 3 games. So they won the first one.
And they drew the two. But so out of a possible 9 points, they've taken 5. When he was around, they were doing extremely well.
They could possibly have been at the top of the table.
Exactly.
So that's what's going on with the league. Let's get into the CHAN tournament. It kicked off this weekend. Algeria are the host nation. A lot of controversy as far as this tournament is concerned, especially regarding some diplomatic issues between Algeria, the host nation, and their neighbors, Morocco. Morocco want to fly directly into Algeria. Algeria say, no, you cannot fly directly into our airspace. And so there's a lot going on. The crazy thing is that CAF President Patrice Motsepe and FIFA President Infantino have been trying to resolve these issues from as far back as early December. Some way, somehow, they still have not reached a solution in this matter. So it's absolutely crazy as things stand up. But the football still happened. Algeria, the host nation, they were up against Libya in the first game of the competition. Host nation, it wasn't emphatic, but they managed to win. Let's get to the highlights of that one. We'll come back in studio and then we'll break it. And so that's how it broke down in the opening game for the host nation. A penalty enough to do the trick for them. Libya will feel a little unlucky because they hit the post. They probably could have gotten an equalizer in that game. So let me take your thoughts on this one. Tournament has started. Host nation didn't create a lot of chances in this game, actually, but in the end, they managed to get the important 3 points.
It's always good when the host does so. It's one of those things is necessary for a nice tournament because it gets the fans excited, people coming to the stadium. Because if you remember CAN 2008 in Ghana, people were excited because Ghana were really in it with a chance to win until the semi-final against Cameroon. So it's a good result. I'm sure it's good for Algeria. I'm sure they have designs on winning the tournament as hosts. They feel like we are hosts, we should get a good result. But Libya did play well. Libya didn't. It was just a series of unfortunate events because they kind of were a bit loose at the back and gave away that penalty and lost the game. So it's disappointing, but they're probably thinking that with their other games to go, there's still a chance. And look, it's 3 group stage games.
Plus Morocco, who probably have been clear favorites for the title, are out of the way. And then there's also the bit that Algeria feel as if they were bad at the AFCON. They threw away the World Cup qualifiers to Cameroon, and so they want to use this to make a statement.
And they had a very good Arab Cup, if I remember correctly. And a lot of these players were probably the Arab Cup players because if you look at the Arab Cup team, they didn't feature too many of the European-based players. It was a lot of the guys who were playing in the Gulf and in other parts of North Africa who played. So these players there's some quality in that team for sure. So I'll be very excited to see what Algeria can do in the tournament.
Well, let's see if we can get to the second game of the competition. That game was between Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal. So Senegal finding just enough there to win that one off a VAR decision. Very low-scoring tournament so far. Coach, what's going on? I'm not seeing a lot of attacking play. I'm not seeing a lot of enterprising play between the teams. Low-scoring.
Before Coach goes, if you remember the AFCON itself, the first round of games, if I remember correctly, the first, how many teams are the AFCON? 24. So the 12 games, about 8 or 9 ended 0-0 or 1-0. So I think it's a feature of African football, at least in the tournament stage, when it starts, it takes a while to warm up.
Yeah, but look, truth be told, yes, we are not seeing lots of goals, but the quality has been very, very top-notch.
Algeria and Libya was a really good game.
It was
a really good game as well.
This game, Senegal versus Cote d'Ivoire, it was a very, very good game. The manner in which, look, the standard was so high, and I was always wondering whether
I'm sure you were thinking about us every time.
You remember last week I said that I'm not too sure about the standard of our league moving into this tournament. And at the end of the day, it will come down to that. If you watch this game between Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, it was absolutely breathtaking. The construction of the play from the two teams, they knew what they were about. The coaching top-notch. The goal the Ivorians conceded was just lack of concentration on the part of defenders. They are told that whenever you concede a free kick as a defending team, you should always have players following the ball in case the goalkeeper were to palm the ball out or ricochet off the post like we saw in the goal they conceded. Somebody should be there to react. You have to be proactive. You cannot be there and say, oh, let me respond or let me be reactive. No. Think through the situation and then try and react before it actually happens so that you always give yourself every opportunity to deal with it. But look, it's a tournament that will get even better. Because in every major tournament, even at the World Cup, apart from the big guys that will normally go in there to win their first game, we all saw Argentina just won the World Cup, but they lost their very first game. So we are all warming ourselves into the tournament. Once you have a feel of the tournament after the first game, that would have told you, for example, we are going to talk about the Black Galaxy. If they don't win the next game, they're out of the tournament. So then, there's nothing to protect. Go out there and express yourself in an attacking sense to get the results to favor you. So, look, this tournament will come good. The football
has
for
been good
domestic
so far.
players who are home-based, I think it's been so far very, very good.
And I love the fact that they get to play on a good pitch where the ball isn't bouncing around everywhere. Superb pitch, superb stadia so far. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll discuss Ghana's Black Galaxies. They have lost their opening game of the competition. Morocco have not shown up for their game against Sudan. I will tell you what that means for our group and what that means for the competition. Stay with us here on Scorecard. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's now get into talk of Ghana's first game at the Chan tournament against Madagascar. 2-1 is how that game ended. Ghana losing that game. Not the brightest start for the competition. I know Walker, remember, promised that his team will win this tournament. It's not looking good so far. Let's see if we can break down that particular game. Coach, it wasn't pretty. We had decent preparations going into this competition. In the end, we've ended up losing to the team we perceive to be the weakest in the group.
Look, I watched the game. If you ask us to, I was with him when I said I really wanted to watch the game and see how it goes. And for me, when the game started, I saw two things. I saw that we had disrespected our opponent. We thought that come what may, we'll beat them. So the approach of our boys was very, very lackluster, very sluggish in possession. Go back to the first goal. We had several opportunities to get rid of the ball. We decided to show a bit more belief and confidence and build from the back. Anytime we attempted passing through them, they pressed us so well that we're forced to go back to Danlad, our goalkeeper. Now, on the third time of asking, Danlad actually did so well with his distribution. He gave the ball out wide to the right fullback, whose body position and control was shocking to me. because the downland pass was about a 35-40 yarder, and it was hit at a very comfortable level. That, in my view, should have allowed him to control the ball forward. Rather, he waited for the ball and controlled the ball backwards towards our goal. He got blocked off, completely dispossessed. And then they saw the gap and they attacked. And you remember I spoke about the lack of understanding in our centre backs. Yeah. And today it was so clear, so evident. Again, the pass that came completely got the two of them out of it. And it took our left back, who did so well in tracking down the goal scorer. Dunlap made the first saves. But if you go back, it is so sad that the highlight is not ready here. If you go back to the sequence, when the ball went past the two centre-back, they were still caught ball watching. Because if they had followed the ball, when Dunlap made the first save, at least one of them could have put in the tackle. The first save came there, and the next ball was just in the empty net. So that, I became suspect of the right back because his technique, very, very poor. And we started playing. But anytime we decided to build again, once we couldn't do that successfully, Dunlap simply decided that he would not pass the ball to any of his back line. Anytime the ball got to him, bim, got to him, bim. And there were times where he came out of his goalpost, took control of the ball. Instead of playing to the defenders or playing to the midfielders, he always targeted Barnier and his strike partner. Barnier and his strike partner, we all know, they are not very good in the air. So why would you keep ballooing the ball? Last week, I spoke about our strength being the technical team. And I was shocked when I saw Dunlap continually balloo the ball towards Barnier and his strike partner. Okay, we were not successful with that.
I think after the goal, he was spooked. He must have been spooked that if I give it to these defenders.
No, but there were moments where even without the press, he could have passed. You see, anytime they are being pressed, then if you decide to go long, it makes sense. But when there was no Madagascan player closer to the centre back or any of our midfielders, why were you hitting the ball on? Because anytime he was not only ignoring the back four, he was also ignoring the midfielder. That is what makes it even more serious. When you go this way, the midfielders will just be doing this. They'll be doing it. We need people to get in charge. There was Glass in Awaku. Put him in charge. Let him play. We couldn't do that. We went for recess thinking that when we come back, there'll be some good tactical switches. I saw that the RTU boy, is he Abagna?
David Abagna.
In that first half, he was playing as one of our forward liner. All of a sudden, they changed the holding midfielder, brought him in to come and now pick up the ball from the centre back and then begin to what? Do the one, be the orchestra of our tempo. I was asking myself, is he that good? If he is that good in that position, why didn't you start with him there? Than to rather start with your first choice holding midfielder, who we all saw could get on the ball and pass. But because we're trailing, panic decision, 45 minutes to go, you do that. And the moment he took him off, we were lacking some bite up from the gate. It was only Barnier who was forcing the issue. Then go and look at the second goal we conceded. I was shocked because after the right fullback gave the goal, gave the first goal away, I think the highlight I'm suspecting is
so we have Ghana's only goal of the game. Let's see if we can check it out briefly, and then Coach can just round up on his points before we finally take this one.
Okay, so this is our only goal. It wasn't a shot. I'm sure this was a miscross. You can clearly see. So it was after the right back gave the two goals away. That was when the technical team saw the need to effect the substitution. This was bad positioning on the part of the Madagascar goalkeeper. But that right back should have been substituted after the first 20 to 30 minutes.
I think Randolph is the one you're talking about.
Yes, Randolph actually. He should have been taken off. If you look at the goal he gave away, Charlie, it was a simple pass to Dunlap, and then he just messed up the pass. Dunlap then was a bit far off. The guy just went past him, banged into it. But look, apart from the giveaway, I wasn't impressed with our build-up. There was absolutely no chemistry in our transition. You couldn't see the link from defense to midfield to attack. Anytime we decided to go forward, in that first half in particular, we went long. We were not having, this is Ghana. Our defenders and our midfielders are usually very comfortable on the ball. So if between those two lines, we should be able to do some transition and then feed the forward line. There was no win play. There was absolutely nothing. And for me, look, it's a bit shocking to me because I had already said that the best this team, the least they can do actually, is to get to the quarterfinals. And from what we have seen, I think we should be lucky the Moroccans are not in the tournament. We should be very, very happy. But even that, we thought that this would have been our easiest game. But look, go and watch this game again. The ease with which the Madagascar team just passed the ball through our team as if we didn't have any tactical shape. And you know what? It's like we didn't do any homework on them.
Yeah.
That is shocking to me, looking at the level of the technical team we have. Prosper Ogum, Ano Walker, I wasn't expecting this. We can only wait and see. Because
we have Sudan next.
We have Sudan next to play. I don't know whether Sudan will play Madagascar before they play us first. I don't know what the
I think
fixture.
Morocco was our last game.
Yeah, Morocco was our last game. Now, they have sat down or they've had a rest.
Yeah.
They are yet to play. I don't know whether their next game is against Ghana or Madagascar.
I think their first game now will be us.
We are in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah.
We are in deep, deep trouble.
that's
I would
what's
have
happening.
preferred them play Madagascar for us to know the outcome of that game before playing them. Because we know that if they play Madagascar and they draw, if we beat them, we are through. Then Madagascar already would have cemented.
So there you,
That's
there you
even
have it there
fixtures
on the
there,
screen.
so
So
it's,
Ghana versus Sudan is our next game.
Wow.
That's what we have next coming
That
up.
makes
So,
it even more tricky.
Just quick thoughts, Susu, on Morocco pulling out or not showing up for their game. Now we have to play Sudan. We are up against it with no points.
Well, you see, this Morocco-Algeria issue is way bigger than football. I think this is just a microcosm of like the whole kind of issue they have, because to the point that their land border, I think, has been closed since 1994 or something like that. So you can't fly, you can't go between the countries. So they've closed off diplomatic relations. So the relationship between the countries is very tense. It's very tense. So the idea of letting a plane from Morocco flying to Algeria, a plane from
and they specifically said they wanted to fly their national airline into Algeria.
Both, I think part of it was both. It was what's the word I'm looking for? They were playing a game of chicken. You know, they were trying to test each other to see what the other would do. I think the Moroccans were trying to win some points by flying directly and flying the national. They were trying to prove a point, and the Algerians were not having it. But this Western Sahara issue is a very deep issue, to the point that Morocco has left the AU because of this issue. So it's not a small issue we can come and say that, oh, it's because of football, let them play. I agree that sometimes CAF, knowing these things, should have tried to figure a workaround for it. But at the same time, there's only so much CAF can do when countries have decided they've picked positions. So it's very unfortunate because Morocco were one of the best teams.
Defending champions, they don't get to defend their crown.
Exactly. We've been denied one of the best teams in the competition coming to play.
Just a quick one on that. In this modern day, this is absolute nonsense. In this modern era, this is absolute nonsense. This should not be allowed to happen anyway. Do you think if, assuming this was the World Cup being hosted by Algeria, do you think FIFA would allow this to happen?
Well, what's going on is that this particular incident that has happened has actually affected Algeria's chances of hosting any other future tournaments. Because
of course,
as things stand now, CAF and FIFA are actually really upset over these issues. Like I said, Infantino and Motsepe have been engaging Algeria's leadership since about early December to try and resolve these issues. But
because it is very clear that it isn't that the Moroccans were not ready to come.
No,
they were ready to come and defend their title. But the problem is that we will not allow you to fly from Morocco. What is that? This is football. You can say we will not allow any Algerians to come apart from the football team. They don't mind. They'll bring their team and come and play.
See, these things do tend to happen because this is why Israel, for example, plays in UEFA. Because none of their neighbors will play against them. They won't allow any Israelis to come to their country. So we do see these things happening. We see some strange outcomes. So, because if you look at where Israel is, why is Israel playing UEFA? And all the countries around them are playing in AFC. It just so happens that none of them want to play with Israel. And it's even it will be a security issue on both sides to have it go through.
Of course, I understand, but that's a bit different from what is here. This is not Algeria not saying so. Assuming Morocco were to come and they were to play Algeria in the final, Algeria and Morocco, they say they will not play the final or what?
Why?
It's always very.
Because it means that now if they're ever drawn in the same qualifying group,
can you imagine what could happen?
They basically are saying that either the two.
Something has to give between the two of them.
Yeah, it means that if they are drawn in the same qualifying group, they won't play. Or for playoffs,
because somebody will
play.
have to go to somebody's country. Somebody will have to go to somebody's country.
If this is the precedent that's being set, it means that they won't play.
It's a very problematic.
Unless they decide to host at a neutral venue, which could be
which
what
FIFA or CAF
can do. Like they will have go and play your games. Play one game in Egypt and play your 2 games in Egypt, something like that.
It's just a very problematic situation. But let me read a few messages before we get into some Premier League highlights there. Liverpool fans, you won't love this. You know, the hardest part about losing heavily on a Premier League match day is that you have to relive the highlights over and over and over again. When your team wins, it's good. When your team doesn't, it's all agony.
I'm even angry at the producer for putting AC Milan in there. You don't do AC Milan most weeks, and then one week they don't win. You put them in.
Osei Kojo from Fancy Newtown in Kumasi says, I'm a United fan, but I think we have not arrived yet. Neither should we expect too much from the team, but we hope for a better and winsome squad next season. Again, I'm really surprised when I see a player like Kojo Obin Jr. feature for Hearts, because I wonder how long it will take him to learn how to put the ball in the back of the net after so many years in the Premier League. So some Hearts of Folk fans not happy there. This one says, it's from Kwame. Says, Black Galaxy's loss is a big victory in the sense that it adds to our sincere voices for change in our football. Our game is just like our science labs across the nation. Old skeleton pitches. With what? It says, is it we patriotism with just the sight of well-built ones? We've clearly shown the test tube GPL has $1 million for promotion, about which only the science matters has knowledge of the GFA. Okay, I think you are making an allusion there. Very interesting. Kendi says, we United fans are not concentrating on the EPL trophy. This is a match after match situation. Okay. Please tell coach, I want to see how he jubilated after our second goal yesterday. So that's for you there. This one here is from Abroso from Dodoa. Tell coach I'm watching him live. This one also says that I feel good as a Man United fan. Greetings to my man coach Chris from Ablekuma. Okay. This one is from Kwabena Sky from Ashaiman. Says we United fans are happy with the progress made, but we wouldn't want it to get into our heads. So we hope we contend for the title. We are still some good signings from doing that, but hey, we are keeping the hope alive. All we need to do is to keep winning. Okay. This one here is from Joel Aban, watching live from Bon Kataman. So says Man United will surely beat Arsenal come Sunday, and the Black Galaxies were shambolic tonight, especially a free ban here. So a couple of fans there not happy with what the team is doing. Let's move on to Europe. Let's get to the Premier League and let's get to the Amex Stadium. That's where Liverpool Football Club were hosted by Brighton and Hove Albion. The cracks and the creaks have been showing in Liverpool all season. It came tumbling down at the Amex. Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp have a lot to do. Let's get to the highlights of that game. We'll come back in studio. Look at the caliber of goals that were scored against Liverpool. Sublime stuff. Absolutely juicy stuff. I've seen jokes about Jurgen Klopp saying that the seagulls prevented them from winning the game and whatnot. He always has an excuse or the other. Coach, what excuse do you have for losing a game in this manner against Brighton and Hove Albion? Remember, Brighton drew 3-3 with Liverpool at Anfield.
You remember, yes, we did the game on radio, and I said just before the game started that I wasn't convinced about the leadership style at the back for Liverpool. I didn't think that Matip can go into the shoes of Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
And I also said that even when Van Dijk has
actually
been
made
there,
the mistake for that first goal.
even when he has been there this season, it's not been convincing at all.
Nope.
And for them, if you look at the manner in which Brighton just passed the ball through the Liverpool players, it was a midfield of Fabinho, Thiago, and Henderson. I'm struggling to accept the fact that
Liverpool
these guys
couldn't string 4 or 5 passes together. Brighton would always break them up before they could string a series of passes together.
Exactly. There was lack of look. There were moments in the game where I could hear Jurgen Klopp shouting, "Movement, movement, movement!" in possession. Nobody was ready to move. The only players who were ready to move were Salah and then Gakpo. But in the middle, Henderson, he was so, I don't even know the word to use to describe him. But having said that, you look at this team, you look at who the captain is. What have we noted Henderson for? His desire, his drive, his ability to demand extra from the players, not by word, but by triggering.
Example.
Leading by example. Yesterday, he looks very lethargic. And tactically, I've always said that Jurgen Klopp has shown to be a coach without a plan B. He's all the time 4-3-3, all the time 4-3.
Yep.
When you have done this for 7 years, teams will figure you out. Teams will find a way of blocking your channels. Those attacking channels that the fullback will always offer for you have all been blocked. So why don't you at one time try using them as win backs and just get everybody to know that now, yes, they were fullbacks playing a certain way. Now they are wing backs going to play in a different way. You've got Thiago. You've got Fabinho. Sacrifice Henderson. Put in the 3-back system. Pack the midfield because now they are being outrun in the middle of the park. So the best way to more or less stop that from happening is to have 5 men in the middle of the park or in midfield. He's just refusing to do that. And look, I don't know. It seems they're playing Chelsea next or so. I don't know who they're playing next.
I'll check that out for you.
I believe it's Chelsea.
Chelsea next.
Truth be told, on this form, they will not even qualify for the Conference League. They don't deserve to be there.
Liverpool have been so bad.
And there's no way they're going to get Champions League football. And he better fix that because before they play Real Madrid in the Champions League, or else it's going to be absolute disaster. At least yesterday, for the very first time, he admitted that he's beginning to see that things are not really, really good.
Alexander
We
Arnold
have seen
said
it.
that this is not good enough. Klopp says that Liverpool again is done with its transfer business.
Do you remember last week we talked about their pressing? So I actually checked the numbers.
Yes, I was listening to you actually.
Liverpool went from last season most tackles in their own attacking third. So in their opponent's defensive third. Right now they are 17th in the league. This is just a season drop off. And we spoke right now, so now I've brought you the numbers. This is just a ranking. I mean, not every team has played the same amount of games and stuff, but it just tells you where they are trending. The fact that they were first last season, all teams knew to where they are now. That's all it is.
That's a huge downgrade.
Yeah, their pressing has just fallen apart. And then that's why they are so easy to play through. And that's why I was listening to another podcast. We're talking about clear-cut chances and how basically they've already considered, is it 70 or 80% of their clear-cut chance total from last season already, and we are halfway. So when you look at all these numbers, which is why you can see that Alisson, when you ask Liverpool supporters who's been their best player this season,
It's the goalkeeper.
it's Alisson. And I always say this, when your keeper is your best player, it's a problem. And remember, this used to happen all the time with Man United. It was every day, they hear this, they hear that. And that's why I always used to tell Man U fans, you shouldn't be this happy your keeper is making all these saves. He should be making one of these saves every 3 games, every 2 games.
Exactly.
But Alisson right now is having to
exposed.
And
5 chances per game. And
that's
Brighton
why
were actually wasteful in this game.
And that's why I even say someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold, I feel like the criticism is a bit much. Because for me, if you put Cancelo in that situation, it will be 10 times worse. But Cancelo is playing in a team where you are not seeing...
You see, the coach can do something about the defensive frailties of Alexander-Arnold. Play him as a wing-back. If you really think he's one of your very decent sources to go,
give him some protection.
And let the centre-back
and that's my
protect him.
point. That Cancelo is protected, so you are not seeing Cancelo's defensive frailties. But if Cancelo had to be doing what Trent Alexander-Arnold was doing, it'd be even worse. So
well, Liverpool fans out there, let me know what you make of your team so far. Is this a season you should write off? No trophies, no Champions League. What will be acceptable as a finish for Liverpool this season? And Jurgen Klopp says that he's done with transfer business as far as January is concerned. Well, we'll see how it goes. Let's get to another game that was played. This one was at Old Trafford. Big game. Manchester City had been up to all kinds of antics. At least Pep Guardiola said he had prepared all kinds of schemes to be able to beat Man United. But come game day, it was Erik ten Hag who sprung the tactical surprise. Luke Shaw as a centre-back, Tyrell Malacia back in the mix and all of that. Martial striking, all of that. Let's get to Old Trafford because Man United recorded a big statement win. So a game rooted in a lot of controversy, especially off that Bruno Fernandes goal. Referees, experts, and whoever is involved have tried to explain it, that the fact that was a subjective refereeing decision. But again, we've heard that the whole talk about the offside rule, interference with play, it remains really grey. I've seen some interesting tweets from Peter Cech saying that those who made the rules clearly don't understand the game, whatnot. There's been a lot of shade, a lot of back and forth. Coach, let me start with you on that one. City fans are still not happy. Guardiola is not happy. He still feels as if that Marcus Rashford dash away from the action was involvement in play because he actually affected the mentality of Akanji, the defender. And so this should have been an offside decision.
How do you measure mentality? That's how do you measure these things?
I completely disagree with Pep because of late, the sequence of the movement of the ball will have to be completed before the flag is usually raised for an offside. That sequence was still in action. Marcus Rashford, yes, at the time of Casemiro releasing the ball, was offside. No two ways about that. So if he had had any form of touch on that ball, goal correctly disallowed. He didn't. Now, I again agree with Pep Guardiola when he said that Rashford's movement towards the ball might have impeded the movement of not Nkanji, not Ake, but the goalkeeper. Because at the time, Rashford, maybe Nkanji knew he was offside. So that is why he was a bit late in reacting to the sequence. Bruno rightly said that he didn't even know that Rashford was in an offside position. But he thought that Rashford left the ball to him because he was better positioned to strike at goal.
I mean, I don't believe Bruno there. But
I don't believe Bruno for a second.
I'm coming. He was better positioned to strike at goal. And then he made mention of the closest Man City player was not closer to the ball than him, Bruno, which is also what? Very, very true. So there cometh the subjective part of the decision. Sincerely, I think Rashford might have impeded, because if Rashford was not there, I don't think Bruno would have gotten to the ball before Ederson. But as for Nkanji and Ake, they were inactive in the sequence. So in my view, once it is a subjective decision, the goal stands. It's a perfect goal, clean. No two ways about that. I knew that come what may. You see, when I say Igba, Egbu, Egbu, Igba, you understand that. So here does not. So when I made the statement on Sports Panorama, like I did when Arsenal came to Old Trafford, in Kemini, Igba, Egbu, Egbu, Igba, meaning there will be no other results on the day apart from a United win. Truth be told, tactically, Ten Hag got it right. Man City had only one shot on target. We saw the first half.
Haaland had his first touch in the 28th minute.
That's it. And I believe that Pep Guardiola didn't prepare to see Fred in the team. He didn't think that Ten Hag would bench Anthony and play Bruno out of position to accommodate Fred in midfield alongside Casemiro and then Eriksen. And that center defensive pair from midfield, the Casemiro-Fred partnership, and the Luke Shaw-Varane partnership was absolutely brilliant. Man City has usually, in the attacking third of the opponent, they've always had four influential players. There are two wingers, which on the day was Mahrez and then what? Foden. They got dealt with by Forbisakis and Malaysia. Then you need to deal with the catalyst of whatever they do in attacking third. That catalyst has always been what? Kevin De Bruyne. Yesterday, go back. I never thought like Ten Hag would mark Kevin De Bruyne.
He did.
he did in using Fred, making sure that Fred was always within a yard or 3 of De Bruyne. The only time Fred lost him resulted in the goal. Apart from that, he was non-existent. And once those 3 guys were not allowed to dominate, Haaland was virtually a passenger. Truth be told, on the face of the highlight we just watched, United created all the better opportunities.
They did, actually.
So tactically, it was a battle clearly won by Ten Hag. They want to argue about the offside goal. They should take it from it. It's 1-1. Do the subtraction. Without the offside, you couldn't win the game. That was a subjective decision that needed to happen on the day to confirm the Igba, Egbu, Egbu, Igba slogan.
Literally, coach is saying that they'll take their luck because everybody gets lucky every now and then.
We'll take it.
Let's
3
take
points in the bag.
a quick break here on the show. We'll come back. We'll continue with the United discussion, and then we'll also get into the North London derby. Chelsea also won on the day as well. There's still a lot to unpack on the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. We're still breaking down that Manchester derby. So let me take your thoughts on that game. So Erling Haaland limited to basically 2 shots all game. Very frustrating performance from him on the day. But Guardiola also losing ground in the title race. United are now just a point behind Manchester City. I don't know, but I feel like it's a season where we've all spent time being immersed in Haaland's brilliant goal scoring. The team itself have not been as dominant as they've been in previous title-winning years.
It is. It happens. It's happening. And Erling Haaland is part of the problem. It's not his fault. And we said this when he was being signed, that his skill set does not fit the Man City style. So
a lot of people were worried about that.
So what they've done is they removed him from the build-up. But what does this mean for Man City now? Instead of building up with 11 players like they used to, they are building up with 10. So clearly, you are going to be less effective. You are basically playing with the player less. Luckily for them, when the ball gets into the box, to him, he's able to make something of the few times it comes into the box. So you have less dominance on the ball. But because he's making more of the times you have the ball, it works. But if you're in a game where you can't get the ball into the box, he's out of the game. And that's what coach said. He was frozen out.
Yeah.
And remember there was a game where he had, 8 touches and he scored a hat-trick or something like that. Yeah. There was a game like that and we're all like, oh, wow, this is efficiency. Yeah, it's great when it works, but you're not going to have most games like that. More often than not, that's the thing, you need to be fed. That game, one of the games we saw him boxed out was against Bournemouth. Bournemouth put a box of players around him. He didn't touch the ball.
Yeah.
But City won, was it 2-0 or 4-0? Because the other players were able to take advantage of their space. But this is and this might be a problem against better teams, that when you don't have Erling Haaland and the ball is not coming to the box and he decides to drop deep in the midfield and say he wants to try and help them get the ball forward, he's now becoming a liability. I like Erling Haaland a lot, but for me, this is part of the reason he'll never be the best player in the world until he works on his ability to improve the build-up. Because the truth is, if you want to be the best player in the world...
Good first touch, hold-up play.
It's not even... I would say that the best player in the world, you have to be able to influence at least the final third. Erling Haaland can only influence the penalty box. He influences it to such a level that he's one of the best players in the world, but there will always be players better. Because if you look at someone like Kylian Mbappe, the whole final third, he can impact the game.
He showed out the World Cup outside the box.
If you look at Ronaldo, at Ronaldo in his prime, if you give him the ball anywhere in the opposition half, he can run at you, he can make a pass, he can do something. You can see
30 yards out.
Same thing with Lionel Messi. Those guys, when they got the ball in the opposition half or the opposition third, any part of the final third is a danger. If you give the ball to Erling Haaland at the corner flag, how many teams will be scared? There's not much he's going to do for our situation. And it's fine if things work out and it gets to him in the box. But in tight games where you need every man to contribute to getting the ball forward, it won't work against him. And that was the same stick that was being used to beat Ronaldo in the last few years. That because of his decline in his...
He became a penalty box type of...
And that was what the criticism against him. And don't get me wrong, I like Erling Haaland a lot. But this is the problem in Man City. Man City has been so built to kind of play every player. Even Ederson is getting involved in the build-up. Now that it's been changed to 10 men, it's affecting their dynamic. I still believe they'll win trophies. They might not win the league this season. They might win it next season. They are still one of the best teams in Europe. But there'll be certain games when the ball doesn't come to Haaland. It will look like, are we sure about it? But the good thing for Haaland is that the hold up and build up play, it can be improved. It's something that he has time. This is a young striker. It's not like he's 29.
Yeah.
He's 22, 23.
A lot of room
There's
to
a
grow
lot
as a
of
player.
room to grow. And even because players reinvent themselves all the time. So I'm not concerned for him now, but I feel like it would take a while for him to kind of reach that level where he can drop deep and do those type of things. So in this game, he struggled. And because he was unable to help his teammates out, because like you said, Kevin De Bruyne is marked out of the game. If Haaland is a bit more competent outside the box, can drop deep, can do something.
If they had Aguero in this, he would have picked the ball and then
He can pass the ball, he can
run at the defenders.
Exactly. And
like he said.
so even if you get De Bruyne out, you still have a striker. But because Haaland is so limited outside the box for now, it's a problem. So I don't want to blame him and say it's his fault because he's doing the best he can.
Yeah.
And it's working to an extent. But the team not playing well, I don't want to blame him specifically because there's other factors in terms of the fact that the type of wingers Pep chooses to deploy. Because when they used to have Sane and Sterling, if let's say they had Sane on the left wing and Mahrez on the other wing, even though they were struggling, I think Sterling, because of the way Sane plays, where he's direct, he's stretching the play, they would have gone more out of it. But I think when you have Foden, who's a bit more like he likes to come inside, then you have Grealish, who's also not. Grealish
also wants to come inside.
He slows down the play. So I think the profiles that Man City have right now may not be the best for certain situations because he's limited the team in certain ways. Because I feel like maybe if a Sterling was playing, was also doing a few off the ball runs,
getting in the box,
moving players out of position. Exactly. They might have been better off, but he's chosen to go with these players. So I don't want to say it's Erling Haaland alone. Yeah. There's a lot of other factors in it. But the one thing you say is that the production of other players has dropped a lot. Because usually with Man City, you see a lot of players scoring 10 goals. Right now, it's only Haaland who has. Haaland has scored more than anyone else in the league. Yeah. But when you look at his teammates, outside Foden,
everybody else's production has fallen
outside
off.
Foden, their production has fallen. Mahrez has started picking up in the last few games. So it's a bit deeper than that. But Haaland is part of the problem. But I don't want to blame him because we knew what we were going to get. Pep knew his limitations. And the workaround was don't be involved in the build-up. So I can't come and say it's Erling Haaland's fault. Pep could see that, and that's why Harry Kane was his first choice.
Interesting. Sounds like bigger problems on the horizon for Man City, but what do I know? Let's go to that game between Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Graham Potter has been under so much pressure in the past couple of days. The word is that they have snatched Mykhailo Mudryk from the jaws of Arsenal. Look, I have Arsenal friends who are basically having a meltdown. There are some people who say that, well, if you had to miss out on a 100 million player who is not world class, you should be thanking your stars anyway. We'll talk about that in a bit, but let's get to the action. Chelsea won this game by 1-0. Let's get the highlights of this one. So Chelsea Football Club recording a rare win there, Havertz scoring a rare goal as well. Coach, you're good friends.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I've seen them pass the ball forward a lot and create chances for the striker. I think Havertz should have had a hat-trick in this game.
Yeah.
There were two other headers. There was one in the first half. All he needed to do was to breathe and then just glance the ball off his head. He would have headed it in, the goal, and then that Mason Mount header. I couldn't believe from within the 6-yard box, he was rather glancing the ball away from goal.
And the ball point
direct into the back of the net. Maybe he needs to go and consult Edin Dzeko so that he'll teach him how to do that, because Dzeko did something
these are the things that happen when you try to convert a number 10 into a striker.
Into number 9. They are not used to being in such situations.
Let's be honest. That is not about number 10, number...
He should be scoring that.
He should be scoring that all day. He should be scoring that all day. So, yes, I mean, it's enough. I mean, the man has gone through lots of pain. His facial expression has not been the best. So it was nice to see him clap at the end of the day when 3 points is in the bag. It is needed.
Let's talk about transfers. So Mudryk apparently was heading to Arsenal. Looks like one of the Chelsea co-owners flew into town, talked out the deal, presented him with a fat check, and brought him back in a private jet. This is what Coach Nimley wants for his team, you know. There is Cash FC. This is how they like to do their business.
No, we have said we will not sign any player.
Honestly, considering the contract and the fee and everything associated with Mudryk, I think it's better for Arsenal he goes to Chelsea.
No, but Arsenal were going to bid close to 95 million.
No, let me finish. because if it's true that they are paying Mudryk 200,000 as reported, he will become Arsenal's highest paid player. For a player,
200,000.
Yeah, he would become like one of their highest paid players. For a player who's not guaranteed to start, when you look at it,
and he's moving from 6,000 euros,
3,000 from what I saw.
Yeah,
it like everything about when you look at the contract like that, and me and Coach had this discussion earlier. Coach disagrees with me, but he was offered 35,000 by Arsenal supposedly, and he had accepted. This was he had
because at the time Arsenal was the only team after him.
But he had accepted,
and Arsenal themselves knew that they were the only team after him, so they could afford to.
But that's what I'm saying. If you agree 35,000 with someone and someone comes with 200,000, it's not in your interest
to try and compete.
Yeah, because if you put in your mind that the ceiling you have for him is probably maybe 60,000. You see, so once they put 200,000 on the table,
they've blown you out of the water.
They've blown you out of the water. So you just take it like that.
My issue with the Arsenal people is this. Because this is a player you've pursued for a very long time.
And they were actually willing to pay 95 million overall.
Let's say
so meaning that a lot of it were in performance.
Exactly.
Well, that was, then, the deal was being, they were struggling with those things.
And then too, if Chelsea showed up and is giving the boy £200,000 a week, and the boy is on record to have said, I love Arsenal, I want to play for Arteta, I would have said, okay, look, we can't match the 200,000. Before I start, we raise the 35 that we've offered you to half of what they are offering, 100,000.
Coach, between 100,000 and 200,000 is still a big gap.
It's still a big gap. But if you look at the boys' commitment towards Arsenal, if you look at the boys' commitment towards Arsenal up to now, I mean, if they could have used it. Say, look, we can't match them. This is our pay structure. Take 100,000 K, half of what they are giving, and see how the body we are stuck there. Chisel. What is Chisel about this?
35,000, 200,000. Chelsea just
that's one. And the way Chelsea have been, and honestly, I don't think it's a smart deal from Chelsea to pay someone 200,000.
You are giving 200,000. You are negotiating contract extension with Mason Mount and Co. How much do you think they're going to take?
Coach, thank you very much. That's exactly the point.
How much do you think they're going to take?
Well,
and that's why I say because that's exactly the point. Because if Mikhail Mudryk is coming in, fairly unproven player, one Champions League season. Last season he scored 2 goals. This is a very unproven player. I give him 200,000. What is Mason Mount going to say? Mason Mount, I'm a Champions League winner. I'm an England international. I've been playing for this club for how long? If Mason Mount in his head now,
we'll be asking for 250, 300,000.
250. He's going to take. He has to take double what the boy is playing. He has to take double. So right now, what Chelsea are doing means that the amount of money you have to pay your regular players and your starters,
blown the salary structure,
and that's why I think Arsenal have actually dodged the bullets. Because if you look at the way the pay structure will go and be, it will. Because remember, they are trying to get Saka to sign 180,000. You are trying to get Saka, your star player, to sign 180,000. If you put Mudryk, who's come to sit on the bench, 200,000.
Saka takes 400.
Thank you. So
that's just a very interesting situation.
Because you have to look. So the long-term effects for Chelsea is disastrous in attracting players and what they have to pay them. Luckily for them, if you sign this guy on a 7-year contract, you play the whole 7 years because there's no way
nobody's going to give him 200,000.
And you can't extend him because if you extend him, if I'm on top, my next contract, I have to take 300. So they have to pay him the whole 7 years. So look,
let's talk about Arsenal themselves and how they managed to still win. I thought this was going to be a distraction in their game against Spurs because they all expected Mudryk to come in and then he didn't. But it didn't matter to them. They went out there and got a 2-0 win against Tottenham. I'll see if I can bring you the highlights of that. But Coach, Arsenal winning by 2 goals to 0.
They did very well. They played very well.
Away from home.
They were very dominant, especially in that first half. In midfield, Thomas Partey was in his element. There was a moment where the technique of that non-drop drive, oh my goodness, if that had gone in, that is goal of the season right there. And the manner in which he struck the ball so hard.
Yeah, it was.
I've always said, the
ball flew like it was like boom.
He's always had like really good ball striking technique.
I nearly told myself, come on, I could liken this to the speed of light. Because the manner in which we're watching them boom, boom, off the bar. Come on, man, this is Partey. It's more like it. But look, at the end of the day, they will be very thankful to Hugo Lloris. I think Arsenal played well. But in terms of the quality of the chances created, I think Spurs had the better chances. And Hugo Lloris, I said I don't know the type of Hugo Lloris that may turn up. And it happens to be the one that usually turns up of late. He just gives
I
go.
always
Look,
say this
he's
about
to be.
Hugo Lloris. He's the worst keeper I've seen.
He was at fault for both
He's
goals.
the worst keeper I've seen win a World
Both
Cup.
goals.
We saw him in the World Cup final.
Yeah.
He was lucky that it was 4-1 when
At
he
the
did
time,
when he did
when he
that.
gifted that
Have
goal
you ever
to-
seen a keeper do something so disastrous in a World Cup
It's
final?
crazy. It's crazy. Let's get to another league and see what's going on there. Let's get to the Italian Serie A. Napoli are making a statement in the Serie A, and they had Juventus as an exhibit. It was an absolute thrashing in that game. We'll take that game, and then we'll take the Inter Milan versus Hellas Verona game as well. Inter Milan winning by 1-0. So back-to-back highlights, and then we'll come back in studio. And so that's how it broke down in the Serie A. 5-1 Napoli. Susu Spalletti doing the Lord's work for Napoli.
Yeah. And if Mujo goes for 100 million, Kivas Kvaratskhelia has to go for 250. It's very clear. But aside that, look,
And Osimhen will go for how much then?
oh, Osimhen is 200.
200 million.
200. Actually, no, his profile is very unique. 250.
You scare coach away.
Oh, 250.
Or there's cash.
But
No,
there's cash.
if they put the cash on him, there's only one team that can afford him.
But look,
You mean only one team?
Napoli, we saw them last season.
Yeah.
They started like this. They fell off.
Yeah.
Let's see whether they can maintain
You see,
it. But
I
the team is good.
I think they'll win the league this time around. If they don't win it, they will never win it.
Juventus are in shambles.
They are
Inter
in
Milan
shambles.
look uncertain.
Very
AC Milan are drawing
these
and
Juventus
dropping
are in
points.
shambles. In shambles thing, it's not true.
It's not true.
Juventus
Actually,
are-
they
Juventus
are
are
just doing
fourth.
well.
I watched them struggle against Udinese last week.
But they won.
They
And
won.
Everything you are saying.
In fact, they had 8 successful wins, 8 clean sheets until they met Napoli.
Actually, they were second until this game.
Yeah, until this game.
So
And
this
they got
shambles we
hammered.
are talking about, they are second.
But I think by far, Napoli are playing the best football
in
of their
Serie
life.
A.
Even in the Champions League, they are a team you don't want to meet. You
They
don't
want
want to
to- no,
meet
they-
them because
seriously.
everything about them look very holistic, very complete. They are very
They
confident.
look like
in
a
their
team that
project.
have just found their rhythm.
Rhythm
and you know,
they are
and you know
they
the
are
thing
on
is
their
there's
way.
depth.
Yeah. They've
There's
got
a lot
depth
of
too.
because when Osimhen was out, Giovanni Simeone was
Stepped
scoring.
in and
Yeah.
he came
When I like to call him Cavadonna because he's Maradona reborn. When
Yeah.
Cavadona was out, Elma stepped in.
and they were doing
If
the-
Politano is out, Heaven Lozano will step in.
They have a
Zamba
lot of quality,
Anguissa,
actually.
Zamba Anguissa and
All of a
Zelensky,
sudden.
Lobotka in the midfield. They are very solid. If they are not playing, Ndombele can come in.
Come.
There's always someone
Yeah.
who can come. Look, who was their first choice centre backs were Rachmani and Kim, who plays for South Korea.
Yeah.
When one of them was injured, they had a guy Ostigard.
Ostigard.
He
Yeah,
came
Ostigard,
in.
he
He
came
even
in.
scored a goal. Look, it doesn't matter who
It's
plays.
a
There's
deep
depth.
team.
There's depth.
And that's what's good for them. It doesn't matter who plays, they get the results. But like I said, last season they fell off. But
Yeah.
hopefully they've learned from that and they'll get it. And to be honestly nice for them to win a trophy.
Yeah.
They've
It's
not
been
won
a
one
long,
since
long time,
they've not won
man.
one
Since the
since
days of
since
Diego.
the days of Maradona. They hadn't won one before Maradona. They
Yeah.
haven't won one since Maradona.
So they
And
need
it's been an honor to have named the stadium after him.
Exactly.
Winning.
Get something in there. Let's check out AC Milan Lecce, ended 2-2. And then we'll finally close out with the North London derby. I have those highlights for you. Arsenal fans, I know you want to see your teams go, so I have that one for you. But let's get to AC Milan Lecce, and then we'll close out with the North London derby. Welcome back. Let me take Susu's thoughts on this. AC Milan 2-2. The level seems to have dropped off for Milan just a little.
Oh, it was always going to happen because I said this last season. When I looked at the Milan team, they had the third best squad for me in Italy. So winning the title was actually overachievement. This is a top 4 squad almost. And if you look at the transfer window, they didn't significantly strengthen
At all.
So for them, this drop-off is more like, they are playing more to the actual level you would expect to see. And for me, I think Pioli overachieved last season. And they can get some good performances out of their team, but the team is very solid. If the defense doesn't work, and Leao doesn't create, the team they are very stale. And going forward, if Theo Hernandez and Leao, the pairing on the left side can't create anything. There's not much happening because on the right side, Calabria is a solid player, but he's not a great going forward. And the right wing options for AC Milan in Junior Messias and Alexis Salamakis are not the right wing options.
You don't like Salamakis.
No.
I actually
like
He's
Salamakis.
never.
He's not
His
creative.
end product
He's
is
industrious, not creative.
He's industrious, but the thing is, like I said, if you want to be the best team in Italy, Salamakis will not be your starting right back.
Of course.
Junior Messias will not be your starting right winger, and that's all it is. But look, and even even Brahim Diaz, who's playing in the number 10 position now, towards the end of last season, he was benched by Frank Kessie.
Yeah.
Frank Kessie
Yeah.
is not a number 10, but Frank Kessie benched him and he's starting right now. So the quality
There's a
isn't
lot
as
happening.
high as you would think. And you are still relying on Olivier Giroud by now. By now, Giroud should be back. If you're a serious team, Giroud is back.
Let me get to the Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur highlights there. We have those there for you. So let's check out those pictures and then we'll round up with that. So Martin Odegaard scoring an absolutely sublime effort. The Arsenal really flexing their muscles now, going to the Tottenham Stadium and doing their thing, keeping a clean sheet and getting out of there with all 3 points. Stuff of champions, really. They really are marching towards that title. Believe it or not, it's a title contending season for Arsenal. They won't say it. They are still trying to play modest, play cautious and whatnot. But let me leave you, Coach, with the concluding thoughts on this one. Arsenal winning 2-0. You've seen all the highlights. What's your pick of the weekend? Which goal has stood out for you this weekend?
The goal.
Yeah.
I don't think any goal. Rather, it's the win that has stood up for me. The Manchester Derby, of course.
I was trying to avoid this.
I'll take the Bruno Fernandes.
Bruno
goal.
Fernandes.
I
Why
like
the
that
Bruno
goal.
Fernandes?
No, I think because it's given us some nice discussion this weekend.
Oh, my
It's been
goodness.
a very it's made us think more about offsides.
Well,
and stuff.
you people can decide do what you want.
please
My
check out-
goal
check
of the
out
weekend.
VAR corner.
My goal of the weekend is from Solly Match against Liverpool. Fantastic left foot scoop effort. I mean, Solly
I
Match.
just want to let the viewers know we'll break down the Rashford goal and the VAR review this week. So Monday, check it out.
So
We'll have
VAR will be back on citisportsonline.com. But that's it from us here on Scorecard. Thank you very much, Coach Christopher Nimley. Thank you, Susu Graham. Thank you all out there for doing the watching. Same time next week, you know how we do it on here. Scorecard will be back on your screens.